Hi, babe. Welcome back to the SWETFIRE Soul Revival YouTube channel. My name is Jo, and as always, I am happy to see you here. So, I wanted to continue this whole deep dive into shadow work. And I wanted to make it a series because there's so much information that I have to give you that it would just be an incredibly long video if I did it all in one sitting. So, this time, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what we discussed in the intro. And I want to kind of get into how to do the work around shadow. So, like I said before, shadow is anything that we've repressed, things we feel shame around, things we feel hurt around. Those things that bubble up that we tend to not want to deal with. And when those things do bubble up, we typically will try and repress them further or deny it altogether that we have these feelings, or we'll turn and pretend that everything is okay, that, oh, no, that's fine, I'm okay. Until we try and convince ourselves. The other thing we typically tend to do around those shadow things that bubble up is we get stuck in that spiral of feeling shitty. So something bubbles up and then we fall down the rabbit hole into, oh, that sucks, and that sucks, and that sucks. So there's so many different ways that we handle this. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not really taught how to deal with any of these things, typically because we're made to feel shame around them, or because we don't want to acknowledge that hurt that we have, or the anger or the jealousy or the pain that we have around something. So there's no wrong way to do shadow work, really. Someone said to me once, like, oh, shadow work takes years, though. And that's not necessarily the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is it takes however long you want it to take. So if you want to work on it, on the same thing over and over and over again for years, go right ahead and do it. If you are ready to shift quickly and learn how to do the work and be consistent with it, then it doesn't have to take that long. But it's really completely up to you, and there is no wrong way, right? There's no wrong way to do this. So I wanted to step up and give you some tips how I know how to deal with this, and this is something that I have become sort of an expert at, and people come to me specifically for this work. So my process is really this. I will pick something, say something bubbles up. Let's say it's jealousy, for example. So when that thing comes up that sort of triggers us, that's when we know, oh, hey, it's time to do the work around that. And what I do then is I would write all about how I feel about that thing that triggered me and that feeling, and write my experiences around it, write out all my feelings around it, all my thoughts around it, my mindset around it, and just essentially purge all of that out. And I do it for as long as I can, really. So I just sit there and write. And once I've written everything down and kind of, like I said, purged it all out, I ask myself, okay, is there anything else? And if anything else comes up, then I keep writing. If nothing, then I stop. And typically after that, I generally feel better. So that's not where I stop, though. So after that comes forgiveness. And the thing about forgiveness is this. It's not about the other person. Forgiveness is not about negating what happened to you. It's not about letting anybody off the hook for something that they did. It's not about that at all. Forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is your peace of mind. Forgiveness is about saying, you know what, I'm not going to let you poison my life or take any more of my power or my time or my energy. I'm done. I forgive you for myself. So that's really what forgiveness is about. It's not about saying, oh, it's okay that you did this, or okay that you said this, or this thing that happened was just fine and no big deal. It's just about saying, I'm no longer going to let it hold power over me. I'm going to empower myself and reclaim that which I lent out, which I sort of delegated, which I feel like I lost. So the forgiveness aspect is really an incredibly empowering step. That's you saying, no, that's my power, and I'm taking it back. So that's the second step. And then finally, I will write out, well, you can write out a forgiveness list. I will do that, maybe not always, but if there's things I feel like I need to list out, there's maybe say there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh wow, I need to forgive so much around that, I will typically write it out and then say it out loud. I forgive this. I forgive so-and-so for that, whatever. So you can write it that way. You could say it out loud, however you want to do it. Just do that forgiveness step because it's incredibly important. So the last part is really choosing to see it differently. And so what I mean by this is I will write, I choose to see this differently. And so then it's about going back to those things that we wrote in that first step and saying, okay, what were the lessons that I learned? What is the silver lining? What did I gain from this? Because there's so many valuable tools, so many valuable lessons in all of these things that have happened for us, that if we just look at it from a different perspective, we can say, oh my gosh, look at all these things that I learned. So that's the final step, is to really go through and shift your perspective, rearrange the energy around those things that you wrote down and say, you know what, this happened, but I learned this really incredibly valuable lesson. And this happened, but now I feel this way. And that happened, but now I think this. And so really draw from those things the valuable lessons or the knowledge that you gained. Essentially, you're opening up your toolbox, right? And you're looking at everything that you have. And doing this is showing you, oh, hey, you have that tool and that tool and that tool and that tool that you completely forgot about. So it's really going through your toolbox and taking out everything that's in there and saying, oh, wow, look, I forgot about this and this and this, and look at this. And now I can essentially build my life exactly how I want it to be, because look at all of these tools that I have. So once you've done that last step of rearranging the energy, seeing things differently, pulling out those lessons and silver linings, you can say, look at all the tools that I have. How can I change my life now? You can't change the past, right? And there's no point in trying. All of those things happen to you for a reason. So what we can do in this moment right now is we can take all of those things and use them to our advantage, right? We can take all of those things and say, look at all the tools that I have now. How can I change my life for the better? How can I get what I want? And this is a really empowering, this whole thing is really empowering. Doing this work is meant to empower you. It's not just meant to heal. That's obviously paramount. But it's also meant to empower you to say, hold on a minute. You know what? I create my own reality. And because of that, now I can take all of these things that I've learned over time and I can build that life that I want right now. So that in a nutshell is how I do this work. And it's incredibly powerful work. And really, so many people are afraid of doing this. And there's honestly no reason to be afraid, because this isn't about staying small. It's not about staying in your comfort zone. It's about looking at what expanse you can move into. It's about looking at everything that you have that maybe you don't even realize you have. So there's honestly nothing to fear in doing this. What you're doing by doing this work is giving that attention and that love and compassion to all of those things that bubble up, because that's why they're bubbling up. They're asking for that attention. So when you give it that and you show that compassion, then you can begin to heal it, and then you can begin to do things differently. So, who wouldn't want that, right? So that is my intention for you, is really to harness this work and empower yourself with it. There's no one else is going to give you that power. It's always been yours. You just need to take it, right? So we're going to get into a little bit deeper, and we'll start talking about specific things like shadow work and relationships. We'll talk about manifesting. We'll talk about fear. We'll talk about a lot of different things. But I really wanted to get this out of the way because this is the foundation of all this work. And this is the piece you'll always come back to when you're doing this work around anything. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, you can always drop me a comment. Go to my website and email me. You can find me on social media. If you need to speak to me, I am here for it. Shadow work is what I love. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.